Hi, my name is Nancy Rivera, and I'm here at the Philadelphia Ronald McDonald House with my family because of my 5-year-old grandson, Jonathan Ortiz. Jonathan was diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, and we've been here probably close to 3 months. And today, Jonathan's coming home to the Ronald McDonald House, and this is our home for now, and we're very grateful. In the midst of all this, we have a wonderful chef, Chef Jared. The chef and the staff are the most amazing people. They take care of our breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plus our snacks. And let me tell you, when you have a very sick grandchild and you're taking care of a 7-year-old grandchild who misses her family deeply, having to go to the kitchen to cook is time-consuming. But here at the Philadelphia Ronald McDonald House, we are extremely blessed by the grace of God and all these wonderful people who are donors, who are volunteers, who are just amazing people and have made our life much, much easier here. And for that, we are so very grateful. I thank you.
Hi, and welcome to Served with Love. I'm your host, Jared Johnson. This week's episode is sponsored by Today is a Good Day. And on today's episode, we are featuring bounties from our fresh garden, basil and strawberries. And with those, we're going to make a basil-infused whipped cream strawberry shortcake. So this is one of my favorite times of the year. It's the end of the spring and the beginning of the summer. The bounty is full, the garden is looking great, and I was so excited that this week we got a call from Carol Ann over at our house at Front and Erie, and her strawberry patch was full of strawberries. So I thought nothing better to do than some strawberry shortcake, and I like to do strawberry shortcake a little non-traditional and add some fresh basil. The benefit of that is it kind of takes it a traditional recipe and takes it in a non-traditional place, and also works in two flavors that are kind of coming into the season at the same time and work really well together. So today we're going to start with fresh strawberries, and then we're going to do some basil-infused whipped cream. And so the strawberries will be macerated, and we're going to make a shortcake. The macerated strawberries go over top of the shortcake, and then we do our basil-infused whipped cream to go with that, and that's how we build our traditional shortcake. So in making a shortcake, what you want to do is have very basic ingredients. We're just using butter, flour, sugar, baking powder, and a little bit of salt, and we're going to make basically a biscuit. You can make small biscuits and do individual portions of this, or you can make one big large biscuit and cut it up family style. And so that's the direction that we're going to go today. So when you're making something like a biscuit or a cake, you want to start with dry ingredients, and then we're also going to add wet ingredients into the dry. And before we do that, we're going to cut some butter into our dry ingredients. In the bowl, we have our dry ingredients, and that's flour, a little bit of baking powder, a little bit of salt, and some sugar. So I have about 3 cups of flour, about 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder, a pinch of salt, about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and about 4 tablespoons of sugar. And so what you want to do is just whisk these ingredients together, just so that when we start to incorporate the butter into this, that everything is mixed evenly. So that's whisked in pretty good, nicely aerated. We're just going to move that off to the side for now. And we're going to take our wet ingredients. In here I have 3/4 cup of heavy cream and 2 eggs, and to this we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. You want to make sure that you're using pure vanilla extract for this. So the vanilla goes in. Now we're just going to whisk these together. All right, so now we have our wet ingredients, we have our dry ingredients. So we're going to bring the flour back, and we have our butter here. So this butter we cut into little tiny chunks, and we refrigerated and actually even froze this butter for a little while just to make sure it's as cold as possible. When you're making something like a biscuit and you're cutting in the butter, you want to make sure that the butter is as cold as possible because you're going to get the best light and flaky result with super cold butter. So we're going to use a pastry knife to cut this in. You can use a pastry knife, which works best, or you can use 2 butter knives. You can also do this in a food processor, but I would recommend for something like this that you do it by hand because you don't want to overmix this, and there's a chance with the food processor that you could overmix it and you get a tough shortcake. So we want to make sure that our shortcake is nice and light and airy and flaky. So we're going to use our pastry knife. So you just want to cut this in, use the pastry knife in like a semicircular motion, and the little blades on the pastry knife are just going to cut the butter into the flour. And like I said, we don't want to mix this up too much. You just want to kind of work the butter into the flour until it resembles coarse crumbs. So this is already coming together pretty nicely. Just about done. Nice coarse crumbs. If you get any butter inside your pastry knife when you're finished, just take a little paring knife and just knock that butter out. You want to make sure you get all that good butter into your shortcake. So we're going to just put a little well in the middle. We're going to add our wet ingredients right into the center. We'll take a rubber spatula, make sure we get everything out of the bowl, all that goodness. And then I like to take a wooden spoon and just start to bring these items together. Like I said before, you don't want to overmix this. All right, it's already just about there. You want it just mixed enough so it starts to all come together. All right, so now we take our spatula, make sure we get everything out of the spoon. And from here, we're just going to get in with our hands. This is the fun part. And just start mixing this and kneading it together until it forms into one dough ball. You just start working it around. Any of the flour that's on the outside, work itself into the inside. You just want to get it so that you have a nice ball. So we transfer this over to our baking sheet. And you just want to press this out. I like to take my hands at the end and just kind of work it in. Little bits of imperfection actually make a better end result. So our shortcake is formed, and what we want to do, we have a little bit of heavy cream left here. We're just going to take a pastry brush, and we're going to liberally brush the top of the biscuit, our shortcake, with the heavy cream. What this is going to do, it's going to make a nice, almost glaze on top of the shortcake. This is about 2 tablespoons of cream. And you want to try to get just about all of this cream all over the shortcake. And so now we have a little bit of granulated sugar. And we're just going to sprinkle the top. And again, this is going to add a little texture. It's going to add a little sweetness. So there it is, granulated sugar all over the top. Our oven's preheated to 400 degrees. We're just going to throw this in the oven. This is going to take about 25 minutes at 400 degrees. You want to have your oven shelf somewhere in the middle of the oven so you get a nice even cook. And after about 25 minutes, this is what it's going to look like. So we have our cake done. We're going to let that other one go in the oven for a few minutes. And now we're going to do our basil steeped whipped cream to go on top of the shortcake. So I have my cream here. I'm going to fire this up and bring it just up to a simmer. And here I have about 2 bunches of basil, maybe 20 basil leaves. We want to include the leaves and the tender part of the stems. So this is already washed. You can just rip it clean off the top. Have some extra leaves. You can throw them in. And what we want to do is kind of bruise these leaves up a little bit before we put it into the cream. What that's going to do is release some of the natural flavor and the essence from the basil. So we just kind of give it a little tear and squeeze, kind of bruising up the basil a little bit before we add it in to the cream. Just give that a stir, make sure it's all the way in. That's going to come up to temperature very quickly. We're going to take our beautiful strawberries here that we got from over in our garden at the Front Erie house, and we're going to macerate these. By macerating them, I'm going to add just a little bit of sugar on top of the strawberries. I have about a half a cup of sugar here. No, I think it's about a 1/4 cup of sugar that we're going to put on top of these. And we're just going to let that sit. And the sugar on top of there is going to release some of the liquids and make it like a syrupy kind of beautiful strawberry topping that's going to go over the top of that. Our cream has already come up to temperature, so we're going to take that off the heat and just cover that up. And we're going to let that go. That'll go for about 25 minutes off the heat, covered, steeping. After about 25 minutes, you're going to want to take that cream and pour it through a fine mesh strainer into another vessel and then refrigerate it for at least 5 hours. You want to make sure that when you're making whipped cream, that the cream you're starting with is nice and cold. We have our basil-infused heavy whipping cream here, already been strained. We're going to add this to our bowl. If you have the opportunity, you want to try to get this bowl as cold as possible. We have some confectioner's sugar. Once the cream starts to whip, we're going to turn the heat up, or the speed up a little bit and start to whip this a little bit faster. We're going to whip this until we have some peaks that form, and that's going to make the nice whipped cream that we're going to put on top of the shortcake. This will be ready in just a few minutes. All right, so this is how I like to plate this up. When we do strawberry shortcake for our families here, we do it a couple of different ways. And the way we do it, how I'm getting ready to show you right now, is always the absolute favorite, because we kind of set it up so as the families are coming down the line, we're scooping and serving it right on the spot. And it just makes like a super special ending to the night after we've done our community style dinner. So that's how I'm going to plate this up. You could also do this presented in a way that you have it done like a little parfait glass, so you have multiples done in advance for your guests when you pull them out of the fridge. Or you can put your cream and strawberries directly on this big piece and plate it up from here. But what I'm going to do is do individual cuts and plate it up the way we would do for our families here. And we have a very special guest today who's going to be joining us and is going to get to try one of our delicious strawberry shortcakes. All right, so we'll take our knife. Plate, right in the center of the plate. I'm going to take some of our whipped cream. Put that right on the top. And I like to just kind of smooth it out a little bit, so you have a landing spot for the strawberry. Then we take our macerated, freshly picked strawberries, go right on the top. And just let the juice kind of run down. Perfect. And then last, just a couple fresh pieces of basil, a couple of freshly picked leaves. And there it is, strawberry shortcake with basil-infused whipped cream, and we're going to serve that to one of our families here today. All right, so we have some very special guests with us today that are going to try our strawberry shortcake. So with us we have Grace, who's staying here in the house with her little brother and the rest of the family, and we also have a very special birthday treat for our house manager, Nicole. So you guys can try the strawberry shortcake today. Happy birthday, Nicole. And there you go, Grace. Tell me what you guys think. Good stuff, right? So that is today's episode. We just want to give a very special thank you to our sponsor for today. Today is a good day. Thank you for sponsoring today's episode. More importantly, they are providing dinner this Saturday night for our families. And that's just one of the things I like to mention, is that the families eat dinner with us every single night. And having a sponsor like Today is a Good Day, who's going to bring in Zachary's Barbecue on Saturday night to provide the dinner for the families, just makes everything really come together here in the house. So thank you so much. I also wanted to give a very special thank you to Dean Foods and Lehigh Valley Dairies for providing the cream for today's episode. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week, where we'll be talking about more basil as it's fresh in the season, and we'll be making basil pesto and show you some different things that you can do with the pesto. See you next week. Man down. If you'd like to sponsor an episode or donate to our food services program, please visit www.phila.rmh.org/chefjared. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. This episode of Served with Love was sponsored by Today is a Good Day. We'd also like to thank Dean Foods and Lehigh Valley Dairies for providing the heavy cream for today's episode. And also Carol Ann Costa for the great intel that strawberries were in season at the Front Neary House. For ingredients, recipes, and information on how you can support our food services program, please visit us on the web at www.philarmh.org/chefjared. You can also contact me with any questions by email at chefjared@philarmh.org.
Hi, we're the Shortcake family, and we founded Today is a Good Day in 2014 following the births of our daughters, Claire and her twin sister, Mary. They were born at 23 weeks and 5 days, and Mary was with us only 2 weeks. We are so grateful for our relationship and partnership with the Philadelphia Ronald McDonald House.
The mission of Today is a Good Day is to provide personal and financial support for families who experience the neonatal intensive care unit. To learn more, visit todayisagoodday.org.
Today is a good day!